Hey everyone, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is a card from the game Arkon. Arkon is a fantasy-themed 2-to-4 player card game in which each player is trying to control different clans of creatures, humans, elves, dwarves, and orcs. You will get a hand of cards, and everybody else gets a hand of cards, and you will play actions out of your hand, and you will put clan cards of those 4 races I just mentioned out for bid, basically up for grabs for everybody. After everybody bids on the card that you put up, somebody will claim that card, and then you'll do some more actions, and then you'll draw some cards, and the play will go on to the next player. I really enjoy card games. Admittedly, this card game could be themed in any which way you wanted, but I do think the artwork on this is fantastic. And the name Arkon, when I first heard it, and even though it was spelled differently, for those of you who might remember, there was a fantastic computer game, and like Arkon and Arkon 2, I played on my old Commodore 64. Now, this I don't think has anything to do with that whatsoever, but it did make me think about that, which is a good thing, because that game was awesome. But regardless, I do enjoy these types of card games because they are very quick to teach, they are very intuitive as far as the play goes, and maybe they aren't like super immersive as far as the theme goes, but the theme works, and the theme is clever, and the theme just is evoked with the different artwork and the different, like, just what you're doing, right? You're trying to control these different races and put them in play. So as I said, the game is relatively easy to teach. You basically, you have, like, cards that you play that tell you exactly what they do, and then you just have a little bit of math going on as far as totaling up your bidding that you're going to be bidding for these different cards. The game kind of has this meat on the bone, this strategy underlying, where it kind of opens itself up as far as just kind of understanding what other people's have, what clans they're controlling, and just how you're going to prevent them from winning the game, while also just spurring yourself into the winner circle, and kind of like, there's this weird, because cards can be used in several different ways, something I really like about card games, when you have cards that can be used for different purposes. I really like that, because you have to weigh your options as far as how you're going to use them in any given turn. But anyway, kind of already getting into my conclusion there, but let me show you how the game is played, and then we'll come back here, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Arkon is a game for 2 to 4 people. I have set up a 4-player game here, though I've played with all player counts, and I've had a lot of fun playing with each of them. I've gone ahead and put the draw deck in the middle of the table. Normally that wouldn't be in the middle of the table due to the fact that you're going to be using the middle of the table to place the different clan cards that you're going to put up for bid. Remember, as I said, you need either all 4 clan cards of one of the clans, like dwarves or elves or orcs, or you need to have one of each. So I'm just going to take this and put this off to the side real quick. Each player gets 5 cards to start their hand, and so just imagine I have 3 other people sitting here. I'm just going to pick up these cards. Let's say I'm the first player. All the cards on the bottom of the cards are going to have these little things in there telling you what these cards can be used for, each and every one of them. So here I got a clan card. This is the dwarf clan, and you can see on the bottom it says it is a clan card and an influence card. Influence is the number of points that it's worth, and that's going to be right over there. And these cards will be used to, influence is used to bid for other cards. Probably you wouldn't use a clan card to bid just because, well, these are the cards that you need to win, right? So some cards will say a response on the bottom. Response cards will respond to other people's action cards that they play. And I'll talk about that here in just a little bit. And most cards are going to say this on the bottom of them: action, counter, influence. So this is a card that can be played as an action, it can be played as a counter card, and it can be played as an influence card. And I'll talk about that also. So let's see, I got a peace card, which is a response card. I got arcane insight, which is action, counter, influence. Conquest, action, counter, influence. Tactical reveal, response, influence, and a clan card. All right, so this is my turn, right? And the first thing you're going to do is, well, you basically have 4 phases on your turn. You have an action phase, like your first action phase, and then you have your bidding phase, and then you have your second action phase, and then you have the card draw phase. So just before I get too ahead of myself, you have a hand limit of 8 cards. So after your turn is done, if you have more than 8 cards, you have to discard down to 8. So looking at your cards, what you're going to probably look is you can see any kind of action cards that you can play. Now, all the action cards are going to have this little thing that says counter on them. What that means is that any other player, if they have the same action card as you, when you play it down as an action, they are able to play the exact same card, and it will like basically stop that card from happening. It'll counter it from occurring. So if I played Arcane Insight and I wanted to draw 2 cards, if somebody else had the exact, I play that down, that's my action. You allow, like you kind of just go around the table to see if anybody wants to counter that action. If they counter it, then you just discard it, and they discard the card they used to counter, and you go on. You can play as many cards as you want during the action phase. You can play all of your cards if you want, but remember, this is a game where you don't draw back up to a full hand size when you're done. So hand management and card management are important, so maybe you don't want to spend all your cards. But let's say I just did this, nobody stopped me. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 more cards. I draw too many, of course. And I'm going to see what I got here. So I got another Conquest card, and I got an Elf card. So I got 2 Clan cards, which is good because, I can, like, put these in my hand, and I can think about what I want. Now, I can't really play any of their actions because, like, a Conquest card says, gain control of a target clan in play. That means basically somebody else, like, let's say, this person had a Dwarf card. I could play Conquest that would allow me to take that card from them. And then of course then other people would have the possibility of playing another Conquest card to stop it from happening. There are also cards like this Peace card says play in response to any action card, and it counters that card. So Peace cards are very powerful, and they're pretty good. You'll also notice that it counters an action card, and it is a response card. So you can't, like, oh, I got a Peace card to counter a Peace card. So that doesn't work. So, like, this would cancel it. And so when somebody is getting close to being, like, winning, having a Peace card in your hand to prevent them from, like, stealing, like, if like, I had all 3 dwarves in front of me and I tried to steal that dwarf card from this player, somebody having a Peace card could stop me from doing that. And it's good to have those in your hand so you can prevent them from happening. This response card, the Tactical Reversal, you play in response to an opponent's action card, and that card, when that card would be placed in the discard pile, you just take it. You don't actually stop the action from happening, but you do get that card and put it in your hand. Knowing what other people have in their hand in this game, or having an idea of what they have in their hand, is very important, because it teaches you as to what they're able to do, and what they're able to stop you from doing. And it's one of those things where, like, the first time I played it, it's just you kind of played it, and you just kind of got an idea of how the game was played. But what I realized, and what everybody else realized, was, oh my gosh, you kind of like peel the layers back on the game. And while this is a very simple game to learn, it definitely does have some layers as far as just like having an idea of what other people are going to possibly play on their turns. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, and I'll probably talk more about that in my final thoughts. But so if that's my action and nobody stops it, I put that over to the side. I don't have any other action cards I want to play, so now I'm going to do a bid. So let's say I want to bid on this elf. So what's going to happen is that now everybody's going to look at their cards, and remember these influence totals? They're going to place cards down on the table and like try to bid for that particular card. Now, you don't have to put a clan card out in front of you. You don't have to do that. You can skip that phase and you can go right to your second action phase if you want. And there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't do that. If you, especially like right at the beginning of the game, and you kind of look at what we have here, we don't only have, theoretically, because, the Peace card is worth 0, and you wouldn't want to use that anyway. You wouldn't want to use this Dwarf card because it's a clan card. And we have a total of, 8 total in influence. And influence cards range from 0 to 8 points. So right now, there's somebody out there that probably has a card, even if I played all 3 of my cards as influence cards, they might be able to just, tie me with the amount that they have. So, it definitely, you don't have to put up a clan card as a for bidding right away. Now, there are 2 wrinkles to this. So you'll notice that this clan card has a 2 up there, and it has 2 influence. Now, it's actually going to be worth 2 influence for me when I put it out there. So I get to add that 2 influence to any other cards that I place down in front of me in the bid. So if I place like all 3 of these, I'd have a total of 8, because I'd have 8 plus that 2 would equal 10. So if there is a tie between 2 people or more, at the table for the bid for a card, whoever placed their bid first is going to win the bid. Meaning, and the person that puts the card out actually puts their bid out first. So you kind of have, you know, what I would say, like, you know, in wrestling terminology, you kind of have champion's advantage. So, you know, you definitely can drive the force into, like, you know, bidding a large amount and kind of hopefully guarantee yourself from getting it, to get the card. So, you know, those are a couple of wrinkles that you have in it. So after the bidding's done, you figure out who gets it, and then they put that card in front of you. So let's say I won the bid and I put this in front of me. Now, one of the things that are on these things, if you notice here, it says, add 1 to your bid if you control this clan. So any cards that you have, and that goes the same, you know, like the dwarf and everybody else has that on the bottom of their card. If the clans that you have in front of you, it's like a passive +1 to your bids. Now, admittedly, like I said, you can lose those through like conquest cards and things like that. But, you know, you do get to add those in. So you do have kind of a rich get richer thing. So if somebody's got some cards, that's where like the kind of take that aspect of the conquest cards and other cards like that take things away. And I'll show you some other cards here in just a second that will do that or come into play. So so if I got that, now I could do my second action phase if I had another action. I don't really have an action to play right now. And then once again, you can play as many action cards as you want. And you can bid on more than one clan card, but you can't bid on more than one clan card at once. So, like, if I won that one, and then I could say, okay, now the dwarf. I mean, we're going to bid on the dwarf. You could do that. Most likely, you're not going to have cards to facilitate it, because the other people who bid do get their cards back. So I have found that doing that first bid, like, is really, really helpful at, like, finding out what kind of cards people have, because you do reveal all the cards and they put them back in. And that's one of those things too, where if somebody's got a ton of points, and like let's say I won this, I had 10, but somebody had like an 8 influence card, they put it out there. Well, all of a sudden now I know there's an 8 influence card. There's no way I'm gonna be able to claim this dwarf. I have that information. I put that back in my hand. I'm gonna wait for another time to go for it. So after your bidding phase is done, you have second action phase, and then you get to the draw phase. In the draw phase, if you, as the first player, put forth a card for a bid, any clan card for a bid, doesn't matter if you got it or not, you get to draw 1 card off the top of the deck. Then every other player gets to draw a card from the top of the deck. So if you ever do run into a situation where you run out of cards, you are able to replenish your cards. It's slow, but you are able to get more cards back into your hand. So you aren't, you know, over the barrel, so to speak, as far as that's concerned. So the game will just continue until, like, as I said, one person has, like, at least one of each of the clans. Here, I'll grab it. But, oh, I got one of these cards, too. So, there's this card, Desolate, which says, choose target clan and play and put it into your hand. So, like, you get to take that card and, you know, put the clan into your hand so people know it. You know, and then, you know, it's like, but this one, the Conquest, you gain control of it. So, the difference between that is that when you do a Conquest, you take it and you put it into your hand. But, you know, Conquest, you put it in front of you, but with Desolate, you put it into your hand for later. So, there was one other card I wanted to make sure that I showed you. Actually, a couple of different cards I wanted to show you. So, there's this card, Sabotage. You play in response to a player winning a bid. The player must pay exactly 3 influence, or you gain control of that clan, that the player that player still discards their bid cards. So, Sabotage card is pretty powerful, you know, and it is quite useful, obviously. The other card I wanted to see, you know, like, here's a card like Thievery, allows you to look at the player's hand and take one of their cards. So that's one of those things after you learned, you know, what kind of cards they have through a bid, you can definitely, you play that as an action card. So you'll be able to steal that from them. Always something to keep in mind. This is the card that I wanted to show you with the action. So this is Shifting Allegiances. And you can see it's worth 3 as far as bidding influence. But the action is interesting. It says, choose target opponent, exchange all of your clans in play with that player's clans. Each player must give cards at random from their current hand equal to the number of clans taken from their opponent. So if I had like 3 clans in play and another person had 4 clans in play, we'd switch those out, and then we would have to, you know, like, hand out cards. If you don't have enough cards to give away, you can still do the action. You basically give up all the cards that you have in those situations. So I mean, and that's one way to, like, having one of these cards in your hand is very powerful. Not only so you can use it in case like you want to prevent somebody from winning, but also to protect yourself against somebody doing that against you that is looking to keep you from winning. So this is like the humans and the orc clans to go with the elf and the dwarf clans. So if you had like all 4 of those at any point, you would win the game. And there's only 4 of each of these. So if you need all 4 human, all 4 elf, all 4 dwarf, or all 4 orc, and at that point you would win the game of Arkon. This is, like I said at the beginning in my introduction, this is a very, very quick game to teach. It's one of those things where the phases of your turn go by really quickly, but the underlying strategy and the decisions you have to make with the secret knowledge of hands and like gaining knowledge of the other player's cards and things like that makes this game have a lot of meat on the bone, a lot more than I expected, and for that reason I really, really enjoyed it. But let me talk more about all of that in my final thoughts. That's Arkon. It's not nearly as impressive. I need to have a big box to throw up. But anyway, regardless, so there you go. You have a really good idea of how the game is played, and as I said, it isn't a difficult game to learn. It's just you have to kind of delve into it and play it once. As I said, like we set it up and we played it, and we were just like, my gamer was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then we kind of just played through it, and then I don't know who won. I think my buddy Jim won. And then I was like, huh. I played that totally wrong. I was just like, I was like using action cards when I shouldn't use action cards. I was throwing, like way too much into a bid when I didn't have to. I was giving up way too information for the cards that I had in my hand for the bid. And also there's all kinds of weird things like that as well, because like, okay, so you have a bid, right? And I'd always forget that there's that second action phase. So like, okay, it's my person to my right that's doing a bid, and they put a dwarf out or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, well I really want that dwarf because I've got 2 of them and having 3 would be awesome, and so I need to bid for that. And so you're like, you put the bid out for it, and like I put like my big card, I put a big 8 out there, like there's a card, the negotiation card, and all it is just it's worth 8 points for, I'm gonna try to find one while I talk here. It's just worth 8 points when negotiations there. It's like it's an 8. You probably can't see it real close. I'll lean forward. But yeah, so it's like worth 8 points. So like I put out, it's like, oh, well I really want that dwarf, and so I put the 8 out there because I thought everybody else was gonna maybe put 1 or 2 cards out. I figured I'd win. Turn it over. I didn't win because somebody else had Jim actually put out a negotiation card, and he got the 2 bonus points or what have you. And so I lost, and then his next action was to use a thief card to take this card from me, so I couldn't use it on my turn. So there's stuff like that going on where you have to be really cognizant of what you're going to be showing to other players, and be worried about the idea that they're going to actually kind of mess with you. And then the fact that all the counter cards kind of defend against themselves. It's like, oh, I have this really, really good conquest card that I could take you out, but I'm really worried about somebody coming after me, and I need to use that conquest card to protect myself. So there's all kinds of cool little decisions, and like there's little tension moments where you're wondering what somebody has in their hand and what they're going to do. And that's something that I really, really enjoy. Plus, sometimes, like, you'll have, like, 3 elves, say, and that 4th elf just isn't showing up. You don't know where it is. You can't get it out there. Nobody's putting it up to bid, because I'd be a fool to put it up for bid, right? Because then it's out there and people can see it. So you know it's, like, stuck in somebody's hand. You're like, how am I going to get that? So that's when you start, like, trying to get thief cards, like look at other people's hands and take that card from them. So there's things like that as well, and like there's just all this cool little intricacies and cool little twists and turns within the game that I didn't expect to see in the game when I first was like digging into it. But after I played several times, I was like, wow, this has got a lot of meat on the bone. This has got a lot of things going on. It definitely is like in a filler type game. You're gonna play it relatively quickly, but it is a very fun filler-esque type game, and it definitely promotes interaction. It promotes people being constantly aware of what's going on at the table, and so you're not going to have that person stuck on their phone off on the side or anything like that, and just it promotes that conversation, promotes like laughter and cursing when somebody steals something from you, stuff like that. And I like those, and I like games that kind of implement those conversations and that fun that I will have with the other players at the table, and so Arkon does that. So if you're looking for a cool little fantasy-themed card game, I'd strongly suggest you check this one out. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. If you have any questions about Arkon, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Until next time, I am the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.